Hey guys, what's up? So one day I was doing my usual stuff when I suddenly realized something. Most cultures have a card game, like Portugal's Sueca, Russia's Durak, and so much more. Without further ado, please enjoy card games from around the world. First up is the US, and for the US I have chosen Uno. Uno is not like the other card games in this video, because it requires a whole new deck of cards. Here are some cards with numbers, and these cards are not numbers and rather their own thing. The goal of the game is to be the first one to move all their cards from their hands. Now, the way you actually play the game is rather simple. Over here we have a yellow card with the number 6. You can play in two ways with the main cards. You can either put one of the same color or one of the same number. You can also play with these cards as long as they're the same color as the one you played. Except for this one. This one decides which color you want it to be. Like for example, you want it to be blue, well there you go. Or you want it to be red, there you go. If you're on your second to last card and you put it there, you can do Uno. Because if you don't, you're going to be forced to pick out one card out of the deck. Next up is the UK's card game, and what I've chosen for it is a game called Whist. Whist is a 4-player card game with one team like this and another like this. And the goal of the game is to win the most points that are this and that, but possible. Each player is given 13 cards to start with. In this game there is a rank system, with the ace being the highest and the second being the lowest. In this game there are also trump cards. The trump card is when the dealer grabs a card and it's the first thing he grabs, that becomes a more valuable card. The trump cards become a lot more powerful than the normal ones. So if you grab this one over the most top one, it's still gonna win. So watch out. Here's how to play. You have to follow with the same symbol, usually. But if you don't, that's okay. Just play any card. Whoever has the biggest point, which is the trump card in this case, takes the hand. And you keep doing this over and over until one team wins. Next up is Portugal's card game, and that card game is called Bisca. Before the game even begins, we have to cut the deck in half and then put it back like this. Just like Whist, there is a rank system, with ace being the highest and number 2 being the lowest. However, numbers 8 through 10 are not in this game. Each player gets 3 cards, and whichever card it is will become the trump card, in which case will be placed like this for the sake of simplicity. Yeah, like that. To win the game, it's whoever has the most points. But the pointing system is a bit different, so I'm going to show you the value of each card and how many points they're worth. The ace is worth 11, the 7 is worth 10, the king is worth 4, the jester is worth 3, and the queen is worth 2. And every other card is complete garbage. There is about 120 points in the entire deck. And here's how many you need to win. If you're playing with 2, you'll need more than 60 to win. If you're playing with 3, you need more than 40. And if you're playing with 4, you need more than 30. Next up is Russia, and its card game is called Durak. The lowest amount of players you can play with is 2. And the highest amount, 6. For the sake of this video, we're going to play with 4 players. In Durak, there is also a rank system. However, we must remove these. The ace is the highest and 6 is the lowest. Each player is given 6 cards, and the trump card is selected just like the previous segment. The objective of the game is to remove all the cards from your hands, and the last one, to have any cards at all, becomes the durak, meaning fool in Russian. Basically, you pick up a card and you place it there. Now, the following player can either play a much more valuable card, or can do nothing. And it keeps doing this because we have to do 6 battles. Obviously, I'm not as good as at explaining things as other people. So any info about the card games, I will put a link down in the description with all the videos on the card game tutorials. We're now going to be moving on from Europe and going to China. And China's card game is called Dao Di Ju. I try my best. Which means landlords, or fight the landlord, in Mandarin Chinese. What makes this game unique is that you can only play this game with 3 players. No more, no less. The goal of the game is to be the first one to remove all your cards. You guys also have to keep in mind that unlike the games I've covered so far, the jokers are actually important to this game, which I find pretty interesting. Each player is given 17 cards, and put the 3 final cards face down in the middle. The one with the faced up card begins the game. Before we start fighting with combos and stuff, we have to do some bidding. How this works is that the person with the faced up card starts. For example, they say 2. The following player could say 2. The person gives up, and the other one gives up, so he wins the bid. What he will do is that he'll take the 3 cards from the middle once he wins, and we give it to him. And now, time for some action. So the rankings are relatively the same. Number 3 is the lowest, and the jacks being the highest. And it's also funny that number 2 is higher than the ace, because in the other versions it was number 2 that was the lowest. Funny how that works. I also wanted to point out that the red joker is worth more than the black joker. Basically, there are these combinations in the game that are the main mechanic of the game. If we have 4 of the same number card, we have a bomb. And if we have all 2 jokers together, they make a rocket, which a rocket can't be stopped. These combos can be placed at any time during the game. There are actually way more combos than just these 3 on the table, and there's actually quite a big list. So I'll include the video for this game as well. Anyway, let's move on. Now let's move on to Australia's card game. And Australia's card game is Crazy Eights. The objective of the game is to be the one with the least amount of points. And you can play this game with as low as 2 players and as much as 5. If you're playing with 5 players, you're going to need a whole nother deck. But for the sake of this example, we're going to be playing with 4 players. Each player must be given 5 cards, and you must put the deck in the middle. And if you have to pick the first card and place it down in the discard pile. If the card you pick up is an 8, put it back roughly in the middle, just ignore it, and you put back a new one. To play the game, you have to either put one of the same suit or one of the same number. And also, I'm sorry I've been calling suits symbols the whole time. Anyway, let's move on. Once you have finished the game, it is now time to count the points. And here's how to count them. Aces are worth 1. Numbers 2 through 10 except 8 are worth their face value, meaning their corresponding number. Kings, queens, and jacks are worth 10, and 8s are worth 50. And you keep track of the player's scores by writing them down like this on a table, and you keep playing until someone gets to 100, in which case you see, and whoever has the least amount of points wins. Now it's time for the final card game of the video. And for that, we are going to Brazil. And Brazil's card game is called Canesta. Canesta is played with 2 teams of 2. One horizontal and one vertical. To play Canesta, you actually need 2 decks of cards, with all 4 jokers included. Each player is given 11 cards. The deck is in the middle, and you pick up the top card and you place it here on a discarded pile. The goal of the game is to be the first team to win 5,000 points. And also, you can do this thing called a meld, where you put 3 cards of the same suit, no, not the same suit, but the same number thingy, whatever, like this. Now what this does, I have no idea. I had a hard time following the instructions. I'm gonna give it to you straight, guys. This last card game was so complicated for me to understand that I've decided that I'm just going to not really mention it a lot. So basically, the video is done, but don't worry, if you're still curious about how this game works, I'm gonna put videos in the link in the description. Don't worry. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!